So one thing I forgot to mention that I wanted to bring to your attention was after fiddling around with these extra little bits and parts and things, I found that you could actually take some of this stuff apart. I just didn't realize it earlier. So this is what this thing looks like normally, this Abominus foot. And I didn't know that these actually could separate. And I'm not really sure about the reason for that. So I tried playing with them around and I can't seem to figure out what else they're supposed to do, except these two little tabby things look like they're supposed to connect, right? But then what else do you do with that? I'm not really sure. And the more I played around with this, I think you're meant to probably combine these in some way. Or maybe these are like Titan Master tanks or something. I don't know. I haven't really taken the time to really figure this out. But it looks like there's much more to be understood. For example, I thought this piece might go with might be able to attach to the chest of one of the combiner limbs, like Rippersnapper here. But as you can see, the little plug doesn't go far enough all the way, so you can use this as somewhat of a shield, I think. Something like that, maybe. Well, it's kind of an oddball fit. It's weird, but you can do something like that. Also, you can take these and plug them on that. So this is much more similar to the way that Turtler has his little shell gimmick, where he can pretty much carry all the combiner parts on his shell. So I guess you can really just load up all the cargo on top of Hun-Gurr's back if you wanted to. Something like this, maybe. You can just stack stuff up on the back. So yeah, I guess that's an option that is there if you wanted to. You can also remove these little wing things from the shield and separate these, and I don't know what you could use these for. Maybe like these look like they're supposed to be attack panels or something, right? Anyway, you could pretty much customize the look of your Hun-Gurrr or the other guys, because these are much more modular than I thought. And lastly, earlier I said that you couldn't use any of the previous Power of the Prime armors, or you couldn't attach the new pieces like you could with the Power of the Prime armors to Cutthroat here, but I was mistaken. Turns out that the Abominus hand here can attach to Cutthroat's back. You can see here that the combiner post will plug into the back of the hand, so you can actually have Cutthroat carrying it if you wanted to. So let's I guess you could do something like this if you wanted to, which is okay. But I didn't think you could actually attach these to Cutthroat anymore, so pleasantly surprised that you can do something like this. So this kind of just opens up more possibilities, and I think Cutthroat is the only one who can really pull this kind of thing off, because Cutthroat's head isn't attached to the post here in the way that the other combiner limbs are. They have the post on the opposite side of their head. So that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. I didn't realize you could do that until I was just messing around with it. So there you go. Well, my friends, we've come a long way, and now we have, at long last, a side-by-side image, a comparison of Abominus and Abominus. So, let me tell you guys, this took quite some time to set up both of these combiners. It pretty much took up the whole morning here, but I'm glad that I finally got them stood up, and you can make your initial impressions here. They are very striking next to each other. Abominus has always had a much more colorful color palette than the other combiners, and the Terrorcons have always had that kind of wild, ferocious spirit, so it makes sense that they had these really oddball colors. And I think right off the bat, the newer version, the Generation Selects one, is just I think more cohesive. It's just everything kind of works together a little bit better. The colors sort of complement each other more. When I compare it to the original Power of the Primes version, I can see what they were going for, and I find the effort to be commendable. And I know that they were going for more toy accurate of a representation of Abominus. However, now that I have them side by side, I think a few of the color choices do kind of make it kind of scatterbrained. There's a lot of color in the original that doesn't really add anything. It looks way too busy. But let's go through each one by one. So, first of all, in hand, in presentation, the newer Abominus just looks thicker. That's probably because the feet and the hands and the chest look like it give it more mass overall. And the purple head combined with the feet and the hands, they add a lot of presence to the figure. The original had this compartment, which could house any of the Enigmas of Combination, and I like that. I thought that was a nice choice. But the shield that is missing from the chest is a much better design at the end of the day. It gives it a lot of depth. It looks much more bulkier and robust. Unfortunately, you can no longer use this. Like, there's no way to swap the two of them. They are unique to each version of the Hun-Gurrr figure. And that's where most of the issues came from, was just because of Hun-Gurrr. Because this was based on a much older toy from the 80s, the original Hun-Gurrr, you could use the limbs and the like the dragon mode feet would become the knees, and that is not going to be able to support the weight of these guys anymore. So the heads, the necks became part of the chest component, which the original had a really great idea, and I think that they incorporated this very well with the Power of the Primes, with the Enigma of Combination, and I commend the idea of using the matching colored limbs. I have the feet here, but supporting it in the back are the combiner hand prime armors for both Blot and Cutthroat. So there's still a way to use them in order to provide more stability and balance for the original Power of the Primes figure. Alright, let's take a look at these guys in a side-by-side view. So that's what they look like side by side. Here they are from the back. And you can see some design choices are a little bit different here. You got more cohesive design overall over here, whereas you have the stickers here on the back of Abominus. You can take a look here at how you can use the accessories to stabilize the feet right there. You can get an idea of how the hands look. All right. And you saw how you can flip this open and reveal the Enigma of combination, and this one does not. So there's pretty much a side by side. Now for stability. So even though they look like they're pretty much the same, I can tell you that this one is going to wobble a lot more than this one. It just has a lot to do with the Hun-Gurrr figure itself more than anything. Articulation wise, you've got outward movement like that. You can hear the click and the hips, and these are pretty much the same. The ankles are pretty much the same as those in terms of articulation, and the shoulder. That's what that sounds like. Generations Selects. Let me move this out of the way. So you have, I don't know if you can hear the click or you can, yeah, the feel of this one is definitely a much stronger joint. And these are pretty much the same. The knees, the way that the shoulders have a much more hearty click, but they feel like they're about the same. It's a subtle difference, but the newer one does. The newer one, I guess it. Let me see. Yeah, for the shoulders, it's a much more subtle difference, but definitely for the hips, this one has been improved. It's been tightened up. Whatever they did to it, the screws are a little bit tighter, so that this is going to have better stability overall. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but if you put them in a wide stance or a more dynamic pose, this is going to bend down at the hips, whereas this one is going to stand up. Maybe it's better if I show you in a dynamic pose. Alright, so I finally got them into a dynamic pose, so let's take a little swoop around here. You can see how the limbs look like on each of the two Abominuses, and I have to say that as I was posing them, the one on the left was giving me a much rougher time of getting this kind of pose to work, whereas the one on the right feels just a lot more secure and stable and is not going to give you any issues. So I think that pretty much concludes this comparison video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this and are able to make an informed decision about which Abominus pieces or parts or just the whole darn thing you would like to use as your display, or if you prefer, you could just have both of them. They are fairly unique to each other, kind of in the same way that the previous combiners had a Hasbro release and then later on had a Takara Tomy release. I will say that it kind of feels like a mixed bag in some ways, because although some figures were definitely improved, such as Hun-Gurrr, just flat out, that's the Generation Selects is a much better figure. I do think that it's kind of a miss with some of the others, particularly with Cutthroat, which I feel like the original release was better in terms of quality and paint, and I think Blot is almost the same figure. The paint is nearly identical. I think that the joints have been slightly improved, but not by that much. Sinner Twin feels like the plastic is a little bit better on the original, and with Ripper Snapper, I felt like the combiner port was better, so it's not going to snap as easy. And of course, you do get the rifle for Hun-Gurrr, which can become Abominus's blaster now, so that's a great thing to have. Is it worth the price of admission, though? Do you want to spend the money? This was about $170 US before tax. So, is it worth that much? I don't think so. 110 is where roughly each of the figures go, and this is definitely not worth the extra $60. This the amount of plastic and things that you get is equivalent of maybe another deluxe or Voyager figure. So I do think you're getting a little bit of a little less than what you pay for, but if you really want it, there it is. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Starship mode.